Hi, I want to talk a little bit today about the latest with regards to the Charlie Kirk situation. As everybody knows, Charlie was assassinated on the 10th of September while speaking at Utah Valley University. As far as we know, the shooter is still at large. The authorities have released some footage and are reaching out to the public for some tips. So we'll have a quick look at that, and then I wanted to look at some of the responses and commentary that's been going on regarding this sort of situation. So yeah, let's have a quick look at the footage and we'll go from there.
From the public in tracking down this evil human being. So we're going to queue up the video right now. Show that. I've asked Commissioner Bo Mason if he would narrate to you what is happening in this video.
Thank you, Governor. Bo Mason, Commissioner for the Utah Department of Public Safety. If you look up to the top left, you'll see the building where the shooter was proned out in the top left corner. We'll go ahead and play that video and I'll narrate as we walk through that. So here you see that the suspect ran behind that upper building. He's going to come out on the right, moves to this far right corner. As he does, he's going to climb off the edge and then drop down to the ground. As he did that, he left some palm impressions. There's some smudges, some places we're looking to collect DNA. There's a shoe imprint where we believe the suspect is clearly identified as wearing Converse tennis shoes. Again, we'll replay that again so you can get another view of that. It's important to note his black t-shirt, his black pants, and there appears to be some white on the.
Now, it's actually quite interesting. I don't think I've seen this footage as of yet, and that looks like a pretty significant drop from, the top of this building. If you just look at his height, you can see that's, 4 or 5 times his, his body height. So, obviously this is someone that's, at least quite athletic. He's obviously, trained quite a bit, and it looks like they've, clearly kind of planned their route out and their exit. So fair bit of planning has gone into this exercise, it looks like.
Soles of those Converse tennis shoes. Those are all identifiable items that we're looking for. In the stills that are going to follow this, you're going to see a very distinctive t-shirt with an American flag and appears to have an eagle on it. There's also a baseball cap with a triangle on it and a pair of sunglasses. All distinctive, all things that we would ask the public to look for and try to identify if they know someone who has those items, who has been seen wearing those items. We're looking for all that information. Here you see the suspect after dropping off the building. He moved around across this grassy area, around the parking lot. We're going to pan to the right. After he crosses the street, this is where he moves over into the wooded area. This is the video evidence that we utilize to track his movements and to locate that firearm in that wooded area following the discovery of this evidence. Good. You want to go to the stills? So here's the still photographs. I mentioned these.
Okay, so yeah, they go on to show the stills and are basically asking the public for some tips. A lot of these photos have already been circulated online, so you may have seen quite a lot of those already. So it appears that the authorities are, actively trying to get this guy, and yeah, we'll have to see how that progresses. So yeah, from here, I wanted to actually have a look at some of the responses online and from around the world. I was quite surprised, but also not that surprised to see the amount of people that are coming out just absolutely, gleeful and celebrating, what's happened. Yeah, people coming out and, saying they wish they had done it and that, threatening other people that the same thing's going to happen to them. And it's been quite an interesting trend of people actually coming out and posting on their public accounts and, then getting themselves fired from their roles for, posting threats and that sort of thing. And we'll have a look at some examples of that. Now, I do want to say that off the bat, I do absolutely, support people's, right to freedom of speech and freedom of expression. You should have the right to, hold views and to have controversial opinions and to express those. Now, yeah, so that's my kind of stance on that. However, there is a bit of a common sense approach I think that people need to take when it comes to doing things like, going online, threatening people, doxing people, you know, basically saying that, they wish they were the ones that had done it. Um, you could argue whether or not these things are within the bounds of freedom of speech or if they are an incitement to violence and that sort of thing. So, there's some arguments that could be had around there, but, just looking at it from a common sense point of view, some of these, people are just, going way too far and, just having some, just saying some reprehensible things, in my opinion. So let's have a look at some of these situations of, where people have, come out and posted publicly and are actually facing quite a lot of backlash and, losing their jobs in some cases. So here we've got Senator Marsha Blackburn, who's posted about a, rogue Secret Service agent who's posted on Facebook suggesting that, Charlie deserved to be murdered and asking, demanding this agent's termination. So this is the letter, and this is the actual original post down here. So you can see, if you are mourning this guy, delete me. He spewed hate and racism on his show, especially when we should be mourning the innocent children killed in Colorado. At the end of the day, you answer to God and speak things into existence. You can only circumvent karma. She doesn't leave. So yeah, the senator's, I guess, written to the state or the employer, quoting him and saying that, put simply, your employee celebrated and attempted to justify political assassination. This conduct is inexcusable and urge you in the strongest possible terms to immediately terminate his employment. Now, I have not yet seen a response from the employer or from the state with regards to that. So, that will progress. But, here we do have an example of someone who has been fired for their comments. So I think here is the post that we can see saying, looks like old Charlie spoke his fate into existence. Hate begets hate, zero sympathy. Again, people talking about Charlie's thoughts being the cause of this. His words and his thoughts are basically manifested this. So the university has responded here on their website. They've made a couple of posts. The first one, basically just saying that, this employee has been fired effective immediately, and we extend our deepest sympathies to the Kirk family. They did follow up with, more substantial response from the president, talking about how this person was, in a position of, responsibility and, leadership over their students, and is expected to be seen as being even-handed and being an objective arbiter of facts. And, obviously this person's failed in their, duty to do that, and they've, removed this person. Here we've got, again, just a number of examples of people. This guy, saying, good riddance, what a POS, co-owner of some, barbecue joint. They've actually posted, I don't have the post right here. But yes, they have actually posted that they are, they have separated themselves from him and he's no longer associated with the business. Again, look, you make of that comment what you will. Good riddance, what a POS. I suppose, you have the right to, to say that. Fine. However, as a lot of people have said, and on both sides, on the left and the right, people have always said that, freedom of speech and does not mean, freedom from consequences. So, these businesses and that sort of thing, and, the customers as well, will have an impact. Customers may not want to go and do business with a place with people that hold these views. They have the right to speak with their dollars as well. And, would you want to potentially, work in an office or something, with people who, hold these views? There's arguments to be made either way there, I suppose. This one, I don't think is as excusable. Let's have a look.
We got Charlie in the neck. We got Charlie in the neck. Who's up next? We got Charlie in the neck. We got Charlie in the neck. We got Charlie in the neck.
The bubble.
Who's up next? We got Charlie in the neck.
Yes, I don't really know what to say about that one. Some guy, dancing, chanting, singing. We got Charlie in the neck. Who's up next? I guess he said. They said something after that. I couldn't quite make it out. DHS or VHS, it sounded like. I don't know what that's a reference to. But yeah, going out. And this was, I believe, these people had crashed a memorial or a vigil for Charlie Kirk, which is where they were actually doing this. So just yeah, pretty despicable sort of behavior. I don't recall, when George Floyd even happened, which was obviously very, divisive. I didn't see people out on the street, chanting and singing that they were glad that, he was killed, that George Floyd was killed. There was obviously a lot of people coming out defending the police, going as far as saying, that George Floyd, was a criminal and that sort of thing. But I didn't see a whole lot of people that were coming out and openly, singing and dancing and chanting and that sort of thing. So moving on, here we've got Matthew Dowd of MSNBC. Let's see what he's got to
But
say.
following up what was just said, he's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech or sort of aimed at certain groups. And I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions. But following up what was
Yes, I don't know what sort of logic he's trying to use there. He's been fired from MSNBC since. I guess he's trying to say that Charlie somehow manifested this murder upon himself through his thoughts and through his words. So, yeah, I don't quite see how that works. But yeah, obviously it hasn't stood up and he's been removed from MSNBC. Just what a ridiculous thing to say. Here we've got Ilyan Omar and Mehdi Hassan. Let's see what their take is.
What I do know for sure is that Charlie was someone who once said, guns save lives after a school shooting. Charlie was someone who was willing to debate and downplay the death of George Floyd in the hands of Minneapolis police.
I think he called him a scumbag.
Right, have no regard, downplay slavery and what Black people have gone through in this country by saying Juneteenth should never exist. And I think there are a lot of people who are out there talking about him just wanting to have a civil debate.
Complete rewriting of history.
Yeah, there is nothing more effed up, than to completely pretend that his words and actions have not been recorded and in existence for the last decade or so. And
Yeah, so I guess Ilyan Omar and Mehdi Hassan just looking quite gleeful there. You can look at Ilyan; she's like basically almost glowing. She can't hide her, how happy she is that this has happened. Talking about their, justification or rationale as to why, this has happened to Charlie. Nothing substantive. Again, just saying what a lot of these other people have been saying, that his words and his stance on policy and basically what led to this happening, and somehow seeing that as being justified, it seems. Let's look at this guy talking about how he wished he did it.
Created sick.
Do you support his death?
I do.
You support his death?
Fuck Charlie Kirk.
You support Charlie Kirk being killed?
Yes, I do.
On the day he died, you're here at a vigil for Charlie Kirk and you support his death.
Do you support a Nazi?
No, I don't support a Nazi. Charlie Kirk wasn't a Nazi.
Yes,
You support his shooter?
Yep, sure do. Freedom.
You support Charlie Kirk's shooter?
Sure do. He does all a favor.
Would you shoot somebody like Charlie Kirk?
I would have killed him myself.
You would have killed him yourself? Okay. Do you have a job here in Seattle?
Nope. I take that for a living. Created sick.
Again, what is there to say about some of these things? You can argue, if you want, about whether or not you've got the right to say these things, but just again, looking at it from a common sense approach, someone's died, someone's been shot in the head in front of their wife and two kids, and you're up here saying you think you did it. What kind of person are you that says something like that? Here you've got the president-elect of the Debating Society of, Oxford, talking about, Charlie got shot, LFG, Charlie got shot, lol, and the university's made a post, and he's saying they unequivocally condemn what he's stated. I don't know. How that will go. But it is, interesting to see that a lot of these institutions are coming out and kind of condemning this sort of hatred and this sort of commentary. Just a couple quick ones we'll have a look at now to wrap up. This is Sean Strickland, UFC MMA guy. Anyone who knows him knows that he's pretty much a sociopath or a psychopath. He even says it in this video. It's kind of pretty unrelated to the rest of the stuff we've seen, but we'll have a quick look nonetheless, and then we'll see.
All right, guys, I'm gonna ramble on for a sec. Bear with me, but I'm on Twitter, and somebody says, "Hey, did you hear that Charlie Kirk got shot?" And my gut reaction was like, no, I fucking didn't, but I'm excited. Like, I felt this little dopamine spike in me where I'm like, dude, I want to see the video. And then I seen the video real bad, but I still kind of excited from it. Like, oh shit, like I could feel like my muscles tensing. And then I start thinking, man, well, what's going to come from this? Was a shooter black? Was it a liberal? Am I going to get more fun? Am I going to get more violence? Let's burn this motherfucker down. I need some excitement. And then you start thinking, man, like, how the fuck did I become such a sociopath? Like, how am I so disattached from human beings? When people walk down the street, I don't even see people. I just see potential threats and problems. And then I think about, like, this is the last news cycle. We watched a girl get stabbed, murdered on a subway. We're watching little kids get pulled out of buildings because maybe somebody launched a rocket off of it. I don't fucking know why. But we are so desensitized and we're such sociopaths. It's kind of sad. I was walking through a park and there was a homeless guy with a dog, and the dog had a tennis ball in his mouth and dropped it at my feet. And like it was terrible. I wanted to fucking hit the homeless guy and take his dog home. It's like,
yeah, we're going to see the whole thing. I guess this is just a bit of a ridiculous take from Sean Strickland. He's somewhat, I guess, trying to express his Schadenfreude or his excitement at the idea of chaos breaking out, which I think some of us can maybe have somewhat understand a little bit. If people sometimes have these sorts of thoughts where catastrophe happens and they want to see it get a lot worse, kind of dark side of psychology sort of thing. But this is obviously just that to an extreme sort of extent. Just saying he's getting happy when he, gets excited when he sees these sorts of things happening, and he wants to see it get worse, basically. But yeah, Sean is a sick puppy, and I think he knows that. Lastly, let's wrap up with this clip from this person thing.
Well, now that Charlie Kirk's gone, Miss Candace Owens, I suggest you stay home with your white baby and your white husband and shut the fuck up and stay out of the limelight. Okay? Stay safe out there, girl. You gonna need it.
Yeah, so what is there to say? Again, someone just coming out blatantly threatening Candace Owens, her husband and her baby, stay at home, stay out of the limelight, implying that she's, next in line for something like this to happen. What is there to say about people that just have, unfettered, hatred and, threatening people online, saying that they're going to come out and come after you and your baby? No logical, normal person has or expresses these sorts of views and communicates in this sort of way. You can argue all day, about whether or not people have the right to say these things. Again, I've always supported people's, right to free speech. Things like this, when you're actually threatening someone's, baby, threatening their life, it's just, from a common sense approach, is just, ridiculous and just taking things way too far. Anyway, that was just a quick look at some of the latest responses in regards to this tragic situation, and I'd love to hear what you have to say, what your thoughts are, and I'd love if you'd give us a like and a follow and stay tuned for more. Thank you.